environment and in the library, I'm going to have to ask some of the students a couple of questions. Some of the answers are up here. I mean, we talk about Veterans Day and the day to honor those that are serving in uniform. We've got some active duty here in the room. Those that have served Vietnam War era and other veterans that I can see probably a little bit earlier than Vietnam. And my son, who participated in the invasion of Iraq in 2003 as a Marine. We did see one other Marine finally walk in here, so that you guys have to get together. You know, trade war stories and tell lies, because I think that's all Marines ever do right.
Well, yesterday was our birthday.
So, does anybody, any of the students here, can anyone tell me why Veterans Day is today, the 11th?
To celebrate veterans for serving us?
That's correct. That's the purpose of the day and the celebration. But why is it November the 11th? Is there any student here that knows why it's on the 11th? Okay, if we go ahead. The freedom that the veterans have brought us, but the date, the selection of November the 11th. Uh-oh, over here.
2011? 2011?
No, it goes back much further. Time of war, but the 11th of November.
The 11th hour?
Of?
The 11th day?
Of?
The 11th month.
Of the 11th month. What happened on the 11th hour of the 11th day, the 11th month, that we now celebrated as Veterans Day?
End of World War I?
The armistice of World War I. The armistice, not quite the end. When the armies are engaged in combat and battle, and they finally have figured out that it's about time to stop fighting, there's a ceasefire or an armistice. And between the Germans, French, and American forces, World War I, they chose the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month to cease fire. It wasn't until several months later that they had negotiated the end of the war and peace. So just realize when we get to 11 a.m. this morning, then we're at the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month of about 60 some odd years. I didn't do that. But about 60 some odd years ago is when the war to end all wars. And, well, that hasn't quite happened in the millenniums of human history. We still have soldiers at risk, soldiers at war. We're still battling around the world. But it's the men and women that comprise the service, and even more important, the women today. Much expanded beyond what they were allowed to do in World War II. The last time that we had a lot of women in the service, World War II, they were ferrying the fighter planes so that we could leave the fighter pilots in contact. They were performing a lot of other jobs in the military. Really kind of helped them out. Didn't have quite so many after the World War II. So today we're here to honor all of those that have. And I want right now to ask every veteran that has served in uniform to please stand. And let's just do a very special welcome to every veteran that's here today. Make sure that you go around and say hi to some of the other veterans. As an important group as well, and lately we've seen a lot more ceremonies where at least the wives, the spouses, the mothers and fathers that have sat and waited to make sure that their soldier, their loved one comes home. And it's critically important to the men in the field, the women in the field, to know that the country, that their family supports them. I remember when my son was engaged in combat, my wife and I had to stop watching the news because every time we heard that a Marine was hurt, we just went into a tizzy for 36 hours. waiting for, hoping that we would never hear from his wife, that, oh yeah, it was Nathan. So as a waiting parent, as a waiting spouse, as a waiting fiance, if you would please stand. If you have waited for a soldier who was deployed. So I'm standing, I've got some other spouses, mothers. Let's get all the mothers who stood and waited. Here you go, I know. Ms. Wells,
My daughter has the baby there.
got it.
Yeah.
Thank you. And there's just one other group that I want to recognize today, and then my comments will be done. I'm not sure I've ever been in a ceremony where the next group has been recognized, but as a grandparent, it certainly has become very real to me to watch my grandchildren wait for a father to come home. And I know that we've got some nieces of this active duty Air Force soldier over here. So there's a lot of children that are in this library right now with their grandpas and their parents that have had birthdays missed. Their birthdays, they didn't have their parent. Recitals, plays, sports games. You know, all the things that it takes to make a family strong is to have parents there for, the birth of a child. I think my son missed 4 out of the first 6 birthdays of his, something like that. Anyway, he was deployed so much that he just wasn't here. So for all those children that have missed their soldier serving, if you would please stand. If you would please stand. If you have a parent that was gone for an extended period of time, hold that baby high. Thank you.